In any security chain, humans are almost always the weakest link because we're susceptible to all kinds of manipulative tactics. Social engineering techniques take advantage of this human vulnerability to trick victims into divulging private information. In today's video, we will learn how to spot a social engineering attack and how strong security software can help prevent you from falling victim to social engineering ploys. Social engineering is the practice of using psychological techniques to manipulate behavior. Social engineering happens by exploiting human error and encouraging victims to act against their interests. In information security, the social engineering definition refers to getting people to divulge private data online, like login details or financial information. In other contexts, social engineering means something slightly different. In the social sciences, for example, social engineering is simply the effort to psychologically influence social behaviors on a larger group scale. That can include encouraging people to behave well on public transit, stop smoking, or even support political revolution. Today, we'll focus on social engineering in the information security context, where hackers deploy techniques online to gain access to confidential information. In this digital realm, social engineering can be identified as cybercrime. Social engineering works by taking advantage of people's cognitive biases. A social engineering attacker poses as someone likable, trustworthy, or authoritative and tricks the victim into trusting them. Once the victim trusts the attacker, they're manipulated into handing over private information. Unfortunately, there are many cognitive biases that attackers can exploit to their advantage, snatching victims' private data right out from under their noses. Social engineering techniques exploit this tendency towards trust in many different ways. One of the best ways to protect yourself from a social engineering attack is to learn about the common methods used in social engineering. These days, social engineering happens frequently online, even via social media scams, where attackers pose as a trusted contact or authority figure to manipulate people into exposing confidential information. Here are other common types of attacks in the social engineering toolkit. Phishing is a type of social engineering attack in which communications are disguised to appear to come from a trusted source. These messages, often emails, are designed to trick victims into giving away personal or financial information. After all, why should we doubt the authenticity of an email that comes from a friend, family member, or business we know? Phishing scams take advantage of this trust. Spear phishing is a type of social engineering attack that targets big businesses or specific individuals. Spear phishing attacks are highly targeted toward powerful small groups or people like corporate executives and celebrities. Social engineering attacks that use this method are often well researched and insidiously disguised, making them difficult to detect. Vishing, also known as voice phishing, is a sophisticated form of phishing attack. In these attacks, a phone number is usually spoofed to appear legitimate. Attackers might disguise themselves as IT personnel, fellow employees, or bankers. Some attackers may also use voice changers to further conceal their identity. Smishing is a type of phishing attack that comes from the form of SMS text messages. These type of attacks usually solicit immediate action from a victim by including malicious links to click or phone numbers to call. They often ask victims to disclose personal information that the attackers can use for their benefit. Smishing attacks often convey a sense of urgency to get victims to act quickly and fall for the attack. Whaling is one of the most ambitious phishing attacks out there, with catastrophic consequences. This type of social engineering attack is usually aimed at one high-value target. Whaling is sometimes referred to as CEO fraud, which gives you an idea of a typical mark. Whaling attacks are harder to identify than other phishing attacks because they successfully adopt an appropriate business-like tone of voice and use insider industry knowledge to their advantage. Social engineering attacks don't always originate online. They can start offline too. Baiting refers to when an attacker leaves a malware-infected device, such as a USB drive where someone is likely to find it. These devices are often intentionally labeled to entice curiosity. If a curious or greedy person picks up the device, plugs it into their own computer, they may unwillingly infect their device with malware. Scareware is a type of malware that uses social engineering to scare people into downloading fake security software or visiting a malware-infected website. Scareware usually appears in the form of pop-ups claiming to help you remove a computer virus that supposedly exists on your device. Once you click the pop-up, you're redirected to a malicious website or unknowingly install even more malware. If you suspect you have scareware or any type of obtrusive pop-up, regularly scan your PC with a trusted virus removal tool. Periodically scanning your device for threats is good digital hygiene. It can prevent future social engineering attacks and can even help you keep your private data safe. Pretexting involves creating a fake scenario or pretext that scammers use to trick their victims. Pretexting attacks can happen online or offline and are among the most effective tricks for a social engineer. Attackers do a lot of research to pass themselves off as authentic. It's not easy to see through a pretexter's ruse, so be careful when sharing confidential information with strangers. And if someone calls you with an urgent issue, contact the organization yourself to rule out a social engineering attack. A honeytrap is a type of social engineering scheme where an attacker lures a victim into a vulnerable sexual situation. The attacker then uses the situation as an opportunity for sextortion or any other type of blackmail. Social engineers often set honey traps by sending spam email in which they claim to have been watching you through your webcam or something equally sinister. If you receive an email like this, check to make sure your webcam is secure, then simply calm and don't respond. These emails are nothing more than spam. Email spamming is one of the oldest forms of online social engineering and is responsible for essentially all of the junk in your inbox. At best, email spam is annoying. At worst, it's not just spam but a scam to get your personal information. A lot of email servers automatically screen for malicious spam, but the process isn't perfect and sometimes dangerous. Emails can slip through. Preferably to avoid this, you should be using an antivirus software that has a specific module that handles email protection. One example is Avast with its email core shield protection, as you can see below. The methods we just outlined are the most common types of social engineering attacks used to access victims' personal information. Attackers keep finding new ways to trick humans and computers alike, especially through finding more creative ways to use the long-standing social engineering methods like email spamming and pretexting. The best way to prevent social engineering attacks is to know how to spot them. Once you're already caught in a social engineer's web, it can be difficult to disentangle yourself. Thankfully, you don't need to be a tech expert to practice good social engineering prevention. Just use your intuition and some old-fashioned common sense. One of the easiest ways to protect yourself from social engineering attacks is to adjust your email settings. You can strengthen your spam filters and prevent social engineering scam emails from slipping into your inbox. The procedure for setting spam filters may vary depending on the email client, but below you can see the email filter setting options for Outlook. You can also add the email addresses of people and organizations you know are legitimate directly to your digital contact lists. Anyone in the future claiming to be them but using different addresses is likely a social engineer. We have reached the end of part 1, guys. Make sure to stay tuned for our next part and let us know if you have any questions in the comments section. Take care and we'll see you in the next one.